Hello folks, good evening and welcome. This is the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Citizen Jones Hussein, and today on the program, David Mark and others commend Senate for intervention in Benue State killings. And later on, we'll share this with you. Nigerian Army takes delivery of innocent vehicles for military operations. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Citizen Jones.
And we have Adewale Adeoye joining us.
Good evening.
So let's have a ball. Welcome. Okay then, welcome. Let's set sail. It's just as well that the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Security Infrastructure cut short its recess to investigate the senseless killings in Benue State. Former Senate President and Senator representing Benue South, David Mark, gave kudos to the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, for his timely directive in connection with the mindlessness in his native Benue. The former number 3 man is convinced that the first step to stemming the tide of bloodshed would be to fish out the perpetrators and their backers. Meanwhile, let's tell you that Taraba State government false claims of the Emir of Kano that as many as 800 Fulani herdsmen have been killed. But we have a report to share with you. It goes something like this.
Back to work as
Nigeria's current insecurity led senators into an extended session to debate recent herdsmen killings and ways of proffering solutions to the apparent lawlessness in some parts of the country. Presenting the report of his ad hoc committee, Senate leader Ahmad Lawan said his committee found that some faceless people are sponsoring and harboring well-trained foreign mercenaries responsible for unleashing terror on Nigerians.
The crisis, which has its origin in competition for access to natural resources such as land, water, and pasture, has been aggravated and fueled by proliferation and massive acquisition of firearms. Some faceless people are sponsoring and harboring the well-trained foreign mercenary elements.
The stage became set for senators to debate the insecurity across Nigeria, which they say has led to a regime of helplessness, with security agencies struggling to protect the country. While some senators called for a declaration of a state of emergency in the entire country, others want a review of the ECOWAS protocol to prevent free movement of foreign trained mercenaries through Nigeria's porous borders. But others squarely blame the National Assembly for being too afraid to confront President Muhammadu Buhari for his failure to tackle insecurity as Commander-in-Chief.
When we have a state of emergency, it enables us to take extraordinary measures, which now also gives us the impetus to say we are closing our borders for 12 months. I'm talking of a state of emergency in the entire country to enable government to take extraordinary measures.
If indeed it is by foreigners, so foreigners are invading this country, they're killing people and government cannot protect them, how can anybody justify this?
The factional wing of that Miati Allah has been causing a lot of problems. They threaten to bring mayhem. They will not obey the law.
The security of this country is under the control, the directive of the Commander-in-Chief. Why are you shying away from calling on the President to wake up and stand up and protect this country?
those against say nay. Yes, have it.
The Senate later adopted over 12 recommendations, which include a 14-day ultimatum to the Inspector General of Police to bring to book perpetrators of Benue Killings.
The Senate gives the Inspector General 14 days to arrest the perpetrators and prosecute. Failure to act is an indictment on all of us.
A minute's silence was also observed to honor the dead.
May the gentle souls rest in perfect peace. Amen.
While emergency services were canvassed to immediately provide relief materials for internally displaced persons. Senators said the response rate of security agencies to attacks within interior communities across the country remains abysmally low. They now want Senate President Bukola Saraki to take all these 12 recommendations to President Muhammadu Buhari personally. Somna Sambu, TVC News, Abuja.
That obviously sets the tone for the discussion this evening, so we go straight to our talk table. Jide, after hearing the voices from the Red Chamber, you are asking, isn't this too little, too late?
Oh, I'm afraid I'm happy with the passion that the Senate has demonstrated. I'm happy that they are determined to get to the root of this matter. But I don't think that the ultimatum to the IG to fish out these killers within 14 days will achieve anything. The IG cannot fish out these killers in 14 days. As I said earlier, these guys are mercenaries. They are highly mobile. If they are needed to kill people in Takum local government in Taraba State, in no time they will get there. If they are needed to kill people in Bauchi, they will get there. They are mercenaries, and they don't stay in one place. Once the headsmen need their services, they summon them. Some of them they come all the way from Mali, from Mauritania, from Senegal. This is how they bring them.
Have all these been established?
That
the people are not necessarily Nigerians.
I can tell you, as I said yesterday on this program, I was in Adamawa State. Adamawa is Nigeria's #1 Fulani state. Okay. The highest concentration of Fulani in Nigeria is in Adamawa State. And I was there. They told me how these things happen. These killings, how they take place and all that. How the Fulani respond when killed, when their cattle gets destroyed, as it has happened in some cases. So I try to find out how do they get, because I have always argued that, look, when you say headsmen killing people, the headsmen that we see, they don't even bear guns.
Yeah,
they don't carry guns. So that's why I've been calling them the militia. Okay. The militia, because this militia is available.
They've been herding for years and years and years without, and these are small boys with sticks and so on.
Those are the people, the Fulani headsmen that we are familiar with.
Yeah.
Yes, those ones don't carry AK-47. But the militia that does the killing, they don't stay in one place. They are not the cattle rearers that you and I are familiar with. This is the truth. And I'm happy that elements from even northern Nigeria, like the majority leader of the Senate, he also said it, that these people, the people who carry out these killings are usually from outside Nigeria. This is the fact. If our security agencies do not know that the people who carry out these killings are usually brought in from outside Nigeria because of the porous nature of our borders, then they are not ready to work.
Wale, perhaps for me, the tall order is asking that the perpetrators be apprehended and their sponsors. It's a tall order, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's a tall order. If you take into perspective, the history, the pattern of killings, and the pattern of responses from the National Assembly. In 2012, July, a senator representing Jos North, Senator Gyang Dantong was killed. They were about to go and bury 50 people, including women and children. And the majority leader of the Plateau State House of Assembly, Gyang Fulani, was also killed. Now, the Senate president at that time was David Mark. Nothing happened. 50 people, women and children, 2012. And since then, there have been, consistent patterns of killings. And the Senate has not been able to do anything. But I think it's a moral strength, it's a moral bonus for the Senate to give the IG 14 days. But then, the Senate, the National Assembly needs to go beyond that. Remember that when the EFCC acting chairman was asked to appear before the Senate actually called for his, that the president should do away with him. So we are talking about life and death. So giving 14 days is just not enough. We are waiting to see what the Senate will do. Because if the IG cannot resolve this contradiction, I think we're in a bigger problem. And as we are talking today, just this afternoon, we heard that a fresh case of killing took place in Benue, less than 24 hours after the Senate had given that directive to the IG. You see, it's not just enough to give, instructions. We also have to look at the capacity, the political will. Yes. We don't have, for instance, the federal government has no DNA laboratory, no forensic laboratory where you can profile criminals. Any criminal in Nigeria can go and open bank account. You can kill in Sokoto again to go to Maiduguri and kill 15 people, and you don't have any record. So what is the capacity of the IG to even go and fish out these killers who have been killing people for years? So I think it's a political statement, which I think is to masturbate the mood, of the masses. But we all know that it's unlikely that the IG will get the real perpetrators.
Otherwise, you talk about, you talk about closing the stable door after the horse had bolted.
Yes, that's what we are saying. One, our response was not swift enough. Don't forget, even when the Agatu killings were being carried out in 2016, it took a long while for the federal government to even send soldiers. Yeah. Hundreds of people had been killed. It took a long while before the president sent soldiers to stem the killings. So I don't know whether this still has to do with the value placed on human life in Nigeria, because the value of human life in Nigeria has already been diminished. It's diminished already.
And our humanity, our collective humanity vanishing.
Yes, vanishing at a very disturbing rate, because you and I know that nearly every day Boko Haram kills people in the northeast, especially Maiduguri. A lot of the killings don't even get reported. Now, we've seen a situation in this country where Boko Haram killed about 200 people in one day in Kano. In one day. They attacked Bompai, the police headquarters. They attacked the place, released detainees. They went to a detention facility for illegal immigrants, released them, slaughtered people through gun and bomb attacks in one day in Kano. They also even killed a journalist of a TV station. 200 and something people killed in one day. I'm telling you that if it happens elsewhere, it can bring down the current government. Yeah. So, but here people, these days, the case of our soldiers who were killed in Kanama in Yobe State. Kanama, where Boko Haram was formed, in Yobe State, and 30 soldiers were reported still missing. It didn't even make front page news. That's to tell you that Nigerians are already getting used to people being killed. It's more or less like breathing in and breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So it's not.
As Delegate would say, Nigerians have been shocked to a state of unshockability. Yeah. Let's expand the field now, because the Senate went further steps ahead and talked about state policing. Wale, is this thing a police thing or a military thing? The reaction. What should be your first step as a president, commander-in-chief? Send police there maybe the mobile policemen, or send soldiers?
Well, I think it's both.
Okay.
You know, it even has to do with immigration, because if people that are involved are coming from Senegal, Mauritania, Niger, and all that, it's about policing, it's about intelligence gathering, it's about the military, and it's also about political will. And you see, we should also not forget that the IG was visited that scene in Benue State, and the statement he made portrayed him as a bit, you know, I mean, he didn't clearly demonstrate that he understood the problem, because he said it was a communal clash. And I think that was the most unprofessional way to respond to, you know, that menace, that killing, that murder of 75 people, to just say, dismiss it as a communal clash. So this same person is the, you know, the person you're not asking to go and fish out the killer. Weeks. So it's as if he has made up his mind. So I'm really worried. Like, you know, Gide has said that, you know, mercenaries and all that. But then we also know that that is an aspect of the conflict. There is no way mercenaries can come to Nigeria without local collaborators. They need to know the terrain. Yeah. They need to have a map. They need to need people that will host them. You know, when they carry out one operation, they have to go and settle in a particular place.
Which expands the debate.
Yeah, so it's a very complex game. Yeah. You know, of course you see people even issue statements and threatening that they will carry out attacks. You know, calling press conferences that look, the crisis will continue. You know, they will kill more people. And then we have, you know, traditional rulers who are well respected coming out to to pass on statements that portray them to be partisan. You know, so it's a very complex game. And unless, you know, we look at this issue dispassionately and realize that human life is at stake, whether they are Christians, whether they are Muslims, whether they are Birom, whether they are Junko or TV, but that we have to rise collectively as a people to save this carnage without minding whatever ethnic group.
Time is of the essence. Senate Chief Whip Shola Adeyeye remarked that we need to rise above religion in the face of these things.
Yes.
Isn't that curious to you?
Yes.
Have we reduced it to a religious?
Yes, because I've heard the Christian Association of Nigeria trying to link this to religion. I'm not convinced that this is about religion. No, it's not. It's a misreading of this situation to simply say, oh, this is about religion. It is, first and foremost, contest for space for grazing. What the nomadic Fulani would want to see is a situation in which he is allowed to roam free with his cattle. Yeah. And don't also forget that grazing areas, designated grazing areas, especially in northern Nigeria, Citizen Jones, have been sold to private individuals. The Emir of Kano, who clearly exaggerated that 800 people were killed in Taraba.
800 Fulani.
Fulani were killed in Taraba. He said to, at a function organized by local government workers, he complained bitterly that farmers and herdsmen will begin to clash soon in Kano because local governments in Kano were in the habit of selling grazing reserves to private people. So the capacity of the nomadic Fulani to find grazing areas for their cattle has already been diminished. Not just by urbanization and other factors, but corruption, by the willful sale of grazing reserves to private individuals for money. So the Emir himself knows that. He knows that. And he knows in his heart of hearts that 800 persons were not killed, 800 Fulanis were not killed in Taraba. Because even the Fulani community, when that incident happened, I said they should go after them, get their side. They got their side, and they said 100 people were killed. Yeah. Where the Emir discovered that it was 800, I wish I understand. But it worsens the situation. Because this is a problem that we must solve. We must put an end to this carnage because of the potential of it to snowball into a bigger problem for our nation. So individuals must not try to exaggerate things, especially big people.
Especially influential.
Yes, big influential people. Because when you do that, we will not solve the problem.
Yeah.
We have a president there that we are saying, no, President Buhari, solve this problem. You are not moving fast. And then individuals, by their utterances, reckless utterances, are compounding things. Is this how we are going to solve the problem?
Adewale, that the long-term recommendations of the committee, the Senate committee, on cattle colony, ranching, and others are still good, but can't be implemented now.
Yes.
So when can it be implemented?
Well, the fact of the matter is that we have to resolve this problem using bottom-top approach. We can't resolve it when the federal government has made up its mind that this is what I want to do. Because we have state houses of assembly who need to debate what is in the best interest of their people. And we are saying that ranching is not strange to this country. There was ranching in Mokwa. There was one in Akono, established by Awolowo. The one in Mokwa was established by the northern government in partnership with German authorities in 1964.
At the time, okay.
In fact, the one in Obudu was established in 1951 by one Macaulay, Scottish person, before it turned to Monte Resort. And these things have been there that they were, they provided. The one in Mokwa is about 6,885 hectares of land, 2,775 reserved for grazing. And, until 1974, when it was handed over to the government, they were producing cattle up to European standard, the equipment and everything there. So what happened to all these things? So we are talking as if we have not been dealing with the problem of cattle production in the country. We have been involved for decades, for over 100 years, and there were ways our forefathers resolved this problem. So this idea of now saying that, cattle colonies, and then it's being mooted by the federal government, as if you are pushing it down the throat of state government in a federal
But
setup.
even Mietiala, they come out to say they don't want cattle colonies.
So why is the federal government insisting on cattle colonies? I mean, you can't build government reserve areas for cattlemen. In those days, the Oyinbo that live in government reserve areas now. You come to Duse and build government reserve areas for cattlemen. We are not going to accept that. States should decide how they want to deal with the issue of cattle at their own, based on their own free will and their own conception of how the problem has to be solved, not the federal government imposing it on anybody.
Deputy Senate Leader Ibn Na'ala wondered why the Attorney General and Minister of Justice up till now has not put anybody in the dock. So, put who in the dock?
Put spirits in the dock. I expect that the security agencies will do their work. The Kebbi man who is the Attorney General of the Federation won't just, like an Aladdin, just call for people to emerge suddenly and then put them in the dock. It's like a relay. The people of Nigeria must identify killers in their midst, must let the security people be aware of suspicious movements and all that, so that arrests can be made. The security agencies must do their work, which is to arrest those who constitute threats to our corporate well-being, to our peace.
National security.
Yes, national security. So at that point, it is the duty of the Attorney General to ensure prosecution, to ensure that the prison is the place for them. Yeah. But if no arrest has been made, there's precious little that the man can do. The arrest that we were aware was made was even done in a very, very irresponsible way, in my view, because you have this conflict. You went to Benue, and then the livestock guards were the people the Nigerian army arrested. In a conflict where about 70-something people had been killed. So the people were paid to protect the citizens. You arrested them and paraded them like common criminals.
Like you have the Hisba in Kano.
Yes. Yes, so that is the Sharia police in Kano. You now went and you now arrested them, the livestock guards, because by the content of that law, the livestock guards are meant to implement the law.
Passed by the State Assembly.
Passed by the State Assembly. So they were the ones that you now went, you now paraded them like common, like kidnappers, like armed robbers, like Bado cultists, Abba. Now, that is why when that happened, people now feel, what is happening now? Can we really say that these people know what they are doing? Because you can't do that. You can't arrest a single person out of those who murdered 73 people, largely women and children. You are now arresting those who were mandated to protect people.
All right, let me quickly take Salih Ibrahim in Sokoto. Salih Ibrahim, welcome, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, are we in business? Welcome.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm all right.
Okay, then. Let's go.
Hello?
Yeah,
what's
we're
your
waiting
view?
for you. Okay.
Are you there?
In fact, I've been listening to your presentation, and I commend your effort in terms of your objectivity and equitable discourse. My own view about the whole thing happening is that, first and foremost, there is problem of lack of capacity in leadership. Yes. And this leadership cuts across all the structure of our leadership.
You mean local government, state, and federal?
Dispassionately.
Yeah.
If you remember, Chief Obafemi Awolowo of blessed memory said, only the deep calls to the deep. Only the deep calls to the deep. This thing needs to be looked at very deeply. Okay. Where is this thing coming from? My own understanding is that the Fulani herdsmen have a militia that Babajide has been talking about, which is true. There is a militia. Nobody knows where they are.
So they are amphibious.
Meanwhile, within the area where this problem is escalating, more especially within the Middle Belt, you have this problem of settler-indigene dichotomy.
Yes. Okay.
It is at the bane of the crisis.
Dr. Saleh,
if you say that some people will not exist,
yeah,
that land belongs to you in this 21st century, then you are getting it wrong.
Dr. Saleh, let me... Okay.
The Fulani...
Dr. Saleh, I just wanted to ask you, since you are calling from Sokoto State,
yes,
what's the approach of the Sokoto State government to things like this?
The Sokoto State government, from what I have seen, the Sokoto State government, since 2010, decided to raise the level of this pastoralism higher than what it is now. And they decided to go into partnership with a farm in Argentina, where they got all the necessary consultancy. They have earmarked large expanse of land around Rabat, where there will be grasses, there will be a lot of things meant for pastoralists. It is going to be handled commercially, and they are trying to come up with a model scheme where some farmers will be identified who will be grazing and who will be having some ranches, sort of, where there will be cattle that will be produced with a lot of milk. And even the cows, some of the sample of the cows will be brought from abroad around Rabat, where there will be grasses, there will be a lot of things meant for pastoralists. It is going to be handled commercially, and they are trying to come up with a model scheme where some farmers will be identified who will be grazing and who will be having some ranches, sort of, where there will be cattle that will be produced with a lot of milk. And even the cows, some of the sample of the cows will be brought from abroad. So my belief is that we need to call on stakeholders, very rational people that will sit down and look at all these issues dispassionately. It is not an issue of apportioning blame. We should look at the problem and come up with a pragmatic way of solving it instead of allowing this crisis to be escalating and be dissipating unnecessary emotion all over the place.
Many thanks for your time, Dr. Saleh Ibrahim. Thank you very kindly. That's a model we should exploit.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if Sokoto State is, and we have a lot less friction in that regard, in that part of the...
I talked about that
I think it's
project, project of the Sokoto State government on Monday. You know, Rabat is the local government where the Sultan, the late Sultan, Ahmadu Bello was born. Yeah. And the former administration in the state earmarked so much money, you know, for this project. And there will be farmers, there will be farming settlements around that huge expanse of land.
It's neither a colony nor a ranch.
No, no. What you are going to get at the end of the day is value chain.
Okay.
Those who are going to be producing the feed for the animal, they will be there in that area. Other farmers too will be there. And right there, the cattle will have access to vet doctors. The cattle will have access to steady supply of water, because it's a big problem for pastoralists. They always travel, they can travel like 10 kilometers just to find water for their cattle. So this whole problem will be solved. And I can tell you that cattle raised, bred in that area will be bigger than cattle that have to move all the way from Adamawa to Lagos. One end of the country to the other, just in the name of grazing. So other states should look along this line. We are allowing our emotions to rule things. And that's why we're going to solve this problem.
Politics into it. Wale, if the bloodbath is not stemmed now, self-help appears an option.
Yes.
And that will not help anything.
Yeah. Well, in Nigeria, it's like security is more or less like an individual affair. Almost every house has a guard. It's supposed to be the responsibility of the state. So when the state fails to provide security for people, that's why people get Megad, they get OPC, they get you know, private, almost every estate in this Lagos. You see that they have armed guys, because the state itself has failed in its obligations, in its social contract. You know, so what is going on in the Middle Belt is that this conflict might assume a life of its own. It will no longer be cattle or no cattle, but look, my brothers and sisters have been killed, I need to seek revenge. And people on their own will begin to acquire arms. And of course, don't forget, in the international market, conflict is good business for some people.
Oh, yeah.
People want to supply arms.
Sell their weapons.
People who live as mercenaries, who don't have any other thing. When there's conflict in the area, they go there, they go and fight. They are waiting for where the next conflict is going to come up. So if the government fails to live up to its responsibility to tackle this problem headlong, we are in for a very big problem. And it might consume the country. Because we are thinking today is just Middle Belt alone. But it's something that affects, because the Middle Belt is like a thread. If we pull it, the whole network of the country will be affected. So the government needs to see this thing as a big problem that can actually lead to bigger problems.
The number 3 man in the country, Senate President, says the whole thing will continue until justice is done and seen to be done.
Yes.
Justice for who?
Justice
case?
For the victim. Justice for the victim. It doesn't matter if people that we see as the victims today were the perpetrators of violence yesterday. We just must start from somewhere. Because that is what Professor Soyinka also said, that because we have failed to punish people, other people have taken liberty in slaughtering people, you know, at will. So the moment we begin to show people that when you do this, this is what you get, they will sit up. They will know that there is a government in place. They will know that the laws of our nation deserve to be respected. We see people, Nigerians who go abroad, they know that they are not infringing on the laws of their host countries. But those same people will come here and treat our laws like they are not there. So we must begin to deal with people, punish people who trample on our laws. You can't take in our country, there is no offense as bad as taking another person's life. So, and people are taking other people's lives across the country at will. Look at, as we are talking, people are mourning. It's being reported that today 6 persons were killed in the same Benue in Guma. and local government. That means the people who are killing other people, they are remorseless. Why are they remorseless? Because they've not seen an example made out of anybody. It's just like even my children. If I do not show them that, look, if you do this, this is what you get. You know how children are now. They will be at liberty to do what they like.
Yeah. All right, let's take Haruna is in Kaduna State. Welcome, Haruna.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Let's go.
But please, my own contribution is that each and every one of us, from the Benue down to everywhere you find the Fulani herdsmen. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We should look at all these things. We should look at the opportunities attached to all these things. Now, just like what Sokoto did, they are going to provide the feed for them. And invariably, if you can organize the Fulani in one place, many people are going to benefit. Yes. You can imagine all the yogurt we are making, you can establish some small business attached to it. And one other thing that maybe is causing emotion to so many people is this. I understand I'm from the north. I know where it is. Because this thing, we should not look at it from the ethnicity or religious bias or anything. But some people are of the view that if the Fulani are being touched, no media used to talk about it. So that is how you get one-sided emotional view.
Yeah.
To my own understanding, please.
That's not true.
To my own, I want each and every, both the Benue and other people should look at the Fulani herdsmen. Yes, quite all right. Nature is going to determine because urbanization is going. Definitely ranching, no two ways about it, is the best form of everything. But let them also look at it, where the opportunities they will gain from it.
Haruna, thank you for your submission. But our problem, Haruna, is getting the Miyetti Allah to buy into ranching.
You know what one of those guys was telling me was that, look, a lot of these Fulanis, they don't have more than 40 heads of cattle. So how do you expect them to go into ranching?
Okay.
He's thinking that for that kind of, for the Fulani cattle who has just 40 heads of cattle, that it is not economically viable to go and get a piece of land for ranching and all that. But government has even elected to get you land. You've not even allowed the president to convince people to buy into his idea. You, Miyetti Allah, you come out and you are saying now you won't want cattle colonies at a time when the president is just trying to get people to support him. I mean, that's why I feel really disappointed. I felt that they should even have waited a little bit.
Wale, we must take this home. Yeah. We cannot but talk about our porous border crossings.
Yes.
Not too late to arrest this situation.
Yes. Well, the borders are porous, and the authorities know this. So it's something that the Minister of Interior, needs to take a decisive action to ensure that people don't just walk into that Nigeria is not just a free zone that anybody can come in, especially when they are armed and they are coming to commit atrocities in our country.
All right. For us here, we suggest that the debate must continue, but then there must be a meeting point somewhere in the middle. After this break, Nigerian Army takes delivery of innocent vehicles for military operations. You want to stay with us. All right, then, welcome back. The chairman of Innocent Motors, Chief Innocent Chukwuma, may be currently going through a rough patch in his business deals, but not so his products, which have found favor with the Nigerian Army. The military has started taking delivery of specially configured vehicles ordered from Innocent Motors Manufacturing Company. Now, the vehicles and ancillary materials are locally made. We also have military equipment to be deployed for the Lafia Dole operations. Army Chief Tukur Burtai announced the healthy development recently. As we speak, 40 of the vehicles have already been taken delivery of. Jide, it is business.
Yes, it's business, and it's a good piece of news. Remember, during the IBB era, remember what the soldiers called IBB spirit.
Okay.
IBB ensured that soldiers got Peugeot cars, you know, and
assembled here.
Yes, it did it that time to try to save the assembly plant here, the Peugeot assembly plant. By patronizing them, the company has a better chance of survival, you know, in the face of competition from Toyota, from all these other cars with noted for fuel economy and all that. So what IBB did at that time was to say, okay, all army officers should be supplied with Peugeot cars. Yes, some of them got Peugeot cars, sold them, and bought Tokumbo Benzes at that time, because, of course, the cost was still higher than buying a fairly used Mercedes-Benz. You know, Mercedes-Benz to our people is, or at that time, was the height of it.
Yeah.
If you are a big man and you don't have a Mercedes-Benz, then you are not a big man. So many of them sold the Peugeot cars and bought Mercedes-Benz. But the important thing was that he achieved his aim of trying to save the company, patronizing the company, and giving it a good chance of surviving. So that's exactly what we are seeing now. The Chief of Army Staff has decided to look inwards rather than wait. You know how long it takes for these military vehicles, for armor tanks and the rest of them to come into Nigeria. You could be looking at 3-4 years in some cases. This can be so complicated. So it has decided to look within, you know, and get these armored fighting vehicles and the multi-terrain vehicles from Innocent. So we are seeing those vehicles. Some of them are already being used, and the Army is reporting that they performed well, they were convenient to drive and all that. So for me as a Nigerian, it's something that really makes me happy, and I would want them to continue along this line. The Air Force is also doing the same thing. The Air Force, under the able leadership of Sadiq, the Chief of Sadiq Abubakar, Sadiq Baba Abubakar, are looking inwards for spares for their aircraft, because some of the aircraft, like the Alpha jets, for example, you know, they are already decommissioned. So, but we are using them. They are doing well in the war against terror, but we must keep them in the air. And how do we keep them in the air if we can't get spares? So Sadiq is now looking inwards and getting some spares fabricated by Nigerian engineers. That's how we are able to keep an aircraft that had been decommissioned more than 20 years ago. We are keeping it in the air and doing well.
Almost every country in the West talks about the American dream, the British dream. We don't have a dream here, or do we?
Yeah, well, I think what has happened is a very good development. In terms of whether we have a dream or not, we usually have dreams, except that those things only end up.
We don't wake up from
at the level of
sleep
having dreams. If you look at DICOM, Defense Industry Corporation of
in Kaduna,
Nigeria, 1964. You know, and it started very well with a very good plan. It started almost at the same time with the defense company in Brazil. Today, Brazil is one of the highest producers of military hardware for many Latin American countries.
And you import from Brazil?
Oh, yeah, from India.
Yes.
So what has happened, you know, is perhaps one of the, you know, few moments that you have seen the military.
You forgot to say the Defense Industry Corporation now produces furniture.
Oh, yes. Kaduna. You know, so the military needs to realize that we cannot be a great nation unless we're able to look inwards for our military strength. And I also think it should not just be a spark. It should be a consistent pattern. The military needs to realize, needs to partnership with the private sector. If you go to our universities, engineering departments, a lot of inventions are there. They just rot away. You know, so the military needs to establish symbiotic relationship with higher institutions, with corporate institutions, so that is the only way that
we are seeing footage on the screen, and so you see these vehicles at first glance, you are wondering if they are really produced here.
Yeah, they are. As if they are from India.
So who will quarrel with this now?
This is beautiful.
And they will be very, very strong.
Oh yeah, imagine built up for the terrain.
For the terrain.
And, you know, the talk is about the partnership between the Army and Innocent in the modification, production of other military equipment, including armored fighting vehicles.
Yeah, yes.
You
know, these armored fighting vehicles are just, they are not armored tanks. They don't need as much thick armor as the armored, as the armored tanks. So the armored fighting vehicles are just going to be a little different from this one. So they can produce.
Just modification.
It's just the size. They are bigger than these vehicles. You know, they can produce them. And even gun trucks. You know, you see this one now, they can easily modify it to a gun truck.
Yeah.
That will be useful. Instead of us to go and be waiting for Donald Trump to sell weapons to us. Somebody was asking me the other day, why has our president not criticized Donald Trump for the shithole comment? I said, somebody who called the president, in the diplomacy, you must weigh everything you say. You must weigh your actions. Somebody who called the president and said, I'm going to support you to defeat terror in your country. Just tell me what you want. And he got in, and he made up his mind to sell weapons to us. Weapons that Obama refused to sell to us. He made up his mind to sell to us. By the end of February, we should have completed all documentations for the equipment to be delivered in 9 months later. And you want the president to call him and be fighting with him. But he will not do that now. He will not do that and then jeopardize a relationship.
More important interest.
Because we need those weapons to defeat those guys in the Northeast. We need them.
Well, so Innocent has the bigger job here to do.
Yeah,
sell your products to Nigeria.
Yeah.
Because apart from military hardware and vehicles, you have pleasure vehicles.
Oh, yes. It's going to create more jobs. It's going to save Nigeria a lot of foreign exchange. And I think it's most likely that many West African countries will be looking up towards Innocent, because it's easier for Ghana, for instance, to come to Nigeria to come and pick some military vehicles instead of going to US and all. So I think it's a very good development. But we should not allow this spirit to die, because the problem with Nigeria is that they come with very fantastic idea, then politics comes in, and then so we must ensure this dream is actualized.
Yeah, Abdullahi has joined us from Kaduna. How are you, Abdullahi?
Yes. I'm fine, sir. I'm fine, sir.
Yeah, let's
go. I want you to join me with the Hangout.
Thank you. Yeah, Kekene.
Pardon?
Ache, yeah, Kekene.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Abdullahi.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
How is the work, sir?
We are doing it. We are fine.
We really appreciate what you are doing for us in the country. Babajide Oguntosho is our godsend.
Thank you.
Give him a title, but let him stay here. Thank you, Abdullahi. So, we talked earlier on about the Peugeot. Yeah. What about the Volkswagen? The assembly plant was here.
Yes,
we killed it.
It was shut down.
Leyland at Ibadan.
Leyland at Ibadan.
Peugeot in Kaduna.
Lista Motors in the same Ibadan.
Oh, come on.
Stare.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Stare.
And then you were producing Land Rovers too.
Yes.
Bewak of those days.
I think, I think the downturn in the economy at that time, the SAP especially, the Structural Adjustment Program, killed so many industries. You go to Kano. Kano is like the graveyard of big companies. Sharada, Chalawa, all those big companies of those days, gone. Bombay, gone. Textile factories in Kaduna, gone.
Innocent would be the stepping stone into the future.
I think you know what I was even expecting.
Yeah.
That Bukola Saraki and his people, because they're always buying jeeps for themselves, why don't they say, okay, in the interest of our country, there is a motor company in this country. All the jeeps that we are going to supply to lawmakers must come from Innocent. Because you cannot even tell me that his jeeps are not good enough.
But Senator Ben Bruce took to Facebook and was selling, in a manner of speaking, innocent vehicles.
Yes, I'm saying that they should make it a policy. If they do that, although the frequency with which they change vehicles bothers me. But if they do that, I will still be happy that it's a Nigerian company that... but when you now go and
the
buy...
message would be buy Nigeria.
Buy Nigeria.
At every level.
And buy Nigeria consistently.
Yeah.
That is the only way we can get out of the woods. But if at all times you go and bring in Prado from Japan, bring this one, you know, it can't help us. We must look at Tata. There's no big deal about Tata or Skoda. Yeah. But in their countries, those people still choose to patronize their own products. Oh, yeah. That's how their country can become great. Well, we have a system.
Ford is a favorite American brand.
Yes, Chevrolet, all of them. Americans, they will first look in the direction of what belongs to them. That's how a country can get great. But in our country, even pineapples from Benin Republic here, we want to think that it's better than our own. Anything that is foreign is the favorite of the Nigerian. I mean, it is wrong.
Wale, where did all this get to start?
Well, we need to understand where we are coming from. The military rule was a huge minus for us because they practically had no idea on how to develop this, But I think the way forward.
So quickly, let me take Kennedy from Adamawa. Kennedy, how are you? Welcome.
How do you do?
I greet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's go.
Can I?
You're
I'm
on.
doing fine.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
You are on, sir.
Okay. Actually, I congratulate you, the people there, and we thank you. You are doing a good job for Nigeria.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The truth of the matter is that there are some certain things that are missing in our national policies. It's either because of greed or personal interest that we throw them out. Like just the analysis that you have been making about the industries that we are having, that is the Peugeot, the one that here in Bauchi, the one in Ibadan.
Name
them. There are things that are very done for purpose that the country should build on it and then maybe become something in the future. But because of the governments that are coming and they have no interest of the country, everybody doesn't even think of continuity. Look at the pastoral thing that you are talking about. In the past, we were aware that there were cattle routes all over scattered about in the nation. Yes. But even in the north that we are talking about, that there is problem in the middle belt and the north, core north, their governors, most of them are Fulani people. Yeah. Why they didn't do these things in the past? It's because of personal interest. When somebody comes, they want to say that he will build it. A governor will start a hospital. And because someone comes, he doesn't know how to make his own money, he will start another hospital, not completing the one that his
Kennedy,
have done.
Time is a constraint here, but thank you very much. We got it. Wale, in taking it home, let's look at, we just talked about buy Nigeria in passing. Yeah. Let's take it home. It is not too late to start afresh.
Yes, it's never too late. And we need to look at how other developed countries are doing it. In the US, for instance, they have research and development, of engineering and hardwares, which is established by the military. But they have people from the academic community, from private sector. They work together as a team in order to uplift their nation. Military is not an exclusive affair. It's a public institution, and they must allow initiative, creativity of the public to make input to the development of the
country. As we go home, let's look at our country and address again citizenship, settlership, indigenship, and it will go a long way.
We will have peace if we can do that. The killings in Plateau State, the killings in Kaduna, Zango Katafa, and the rest of them are all, they all have something to do with indigenous settler dichotomy. Yeah. It has to stop. Even in Benue now, it's because they dread that, if they give them an area to graze, they will produce emirs, they will become this. But we are in America, a Somali woman got voted into their lawmaking body.
It is possible.
Yeah, so it's possible. If a Somali woman can be voted, a Somali woman. So what are we talking about? We are in the same country. We must love ourselves. We must decide that we will stop killing ourselves. The president cannot do it. Hello. It is we. He can't do it. He can't impose peace. It is we as a people that will agree that we want to live in peace.
And help his job.
Yes.
All right. Adewale Adeoye, many thanks for your time.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And Babajide Kolade Otitoju.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Each time we hang out as journalists, we dream Nigeria, think Nigeria, feel Nigeria. And we're glad we are able to move you so deeply. That's it on Journalist Hangout for this evening. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. Watch the repeat broadcast at 11 tonight. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye for now, and God bless you.